In this installment, I'm going to be in my Bill Belichick mode, and we're going over the Christmas slate for December 25th. Cannot wait. We have a 3-game slate on DraftKings between juggernauts on each and every level here. I'm going to be breaking down each and every position for you guys, and I want you guys to enjoy this Christmas special. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to bring you the winning ingredients for our Christmas 3-game slate we got going on DraftKings. But before I deep dive into that, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetShetsD. Don't forget about that TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about that Patreon. But right now we are on that homepage of the YouTube. We are currently at 1.51 thousand subscribers. Thank you guys. Everyone gets a round of applause for continuing to bring support to this content that we have put forth. So guys, if you're currently a subscriber, go ahead and continue to like and comment each and every video. And if you guys are not a subscriber, why don't you smash that subscribe button right now? Everything you guys do helps the YouTube algorithm so it can reach to a broader audience. All right. Thank you guys. And now we're going to get into the quarterbacks. Starting off at the quarterback position. Obviously, we're going to start off at the top here with the most expensive guy. That will be Jaylen Herz. Okay, technically, he does have the best matchup on the board. Let's double check that right now. We're looking at fantasy points allowed to opposing cornerbacks, and right now, this Eagles team is going up against the New York Giants, and the Giants are 27th overall and 19th in the red zone. Technically, the worst team against opposing quarterbacks has been the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is an in-division matchup here. NFC East battle between the Eagles and Giants. Could we get another prime Tommy DeVito game? All right, can we get a DeVito game? Can we? We are hopeful to see that if we do. But at the top right now, Jaylen Herz is going to be a main play that we can consider. Because he's a dual threat. All right, he's obviously is going to throw the ball, and he has the high propensity of rushes as well. He's been on a torrid pace right now, rushing the football and getting touchdowns. All right, obviously the tush push is at an all-time high now, and he got 2 touchdowns in week 15, 1 in week 13, 2 in week 12, and 2 in week 11. So Jaylen Herz is in a prime spot here to be the number 1 quarterback because obviously the matchup is great with quarterbacks throwing the football, and he's going to bring that aspect of rushing as well because this New York Giants team, if we're looking at fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks, hey, you can take that a little bit here and put it on to Jaylen Herz because he will be rushing the football sometimes when plays break down, and he's going to get direct snaps as well. And this Giants team struggles to stop the run, period. Okay. They're giving up 135 yards rushing, okay? And then, so point blank period, they are across the board struggling, stopping teams, moving the football, rushing wise, all right? So Jaylen Herz will be a main play in this slate, all right? Going to be highly owned, so we're going to try to find some other value here at quarterback, but hey, you might have to take the chalk there, and we're going to find other ways to find some sleepers, all right? Next guy will be Patrick Mahomes going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. This game here, we're looking at Patrick Mahomes. Let's see, how did he do earlier in the season? He hasn't had a phenomenal year at all. As you can see, a lot of team type of performances from Patrick Mahomes. That's not the usual. We're used to 25 to 30 fantasy points here. He has struggling wide receivers, and Kelsey has not been the same as of late. Hopefully this could be a breakout game for Patrick Mahomes. So he could have a little bit lower ownership here just because he has not been doing it consistently lately. As you can see, 14, 14, 17, 16, 8. All right, that is not good. That is not the normal Patrick Mahomes we are expecting here. But the matchup, if we're looking at fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks, this Raiders team has been pretty solid. 11th overall and 14th in the red zone. All right, I believe the weakness of these Raiders is opposing running back. So that's where they're going to get things cooking, and we'll talk about that very, very soon. So it's up to you if you want to go to that Patrick Mahomes route. This could be a spot where, hey, maybe he can wake up. This is an in-division matchup in a must-win game, trying to continue to go for that number one spot and that number one seed in the AFC, okay? Now, a sleeper play here with a lot of people on Brock Purdy. And he's the guy that's mid-range, 6,700. Lamar Jackson here has a spot where he can blow up, all right? He's already proved himself in bad games where he can still blow up. Earlier in the season, we go to the first matchup against the Cleveland Browns. He had 29 fantasy points in that matchup. He had a phenomenal matchup against the Colts with 32 as well. Detroit defense, when they were good earlier in the season, he put 37 fantasy points on them in that game. So you see a lot of big blow-up spots for Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he wants to show that he can be the MVP for this year as well. So he's going to be highly motivated, and obviously he has that aspect to bring rushing the football that's going to be very, very key. As you can see, 97 yards against Jacksonville, 70 against the Rams, all right, 39 against the Chargers, 54 against Cincinnati. So he's running even more than Jaylen Herz. He's just not getting in the end zone. That's the only issue there. That's why we have a Lamar Jackson just a little bit lower there, okay? Brock Purdy, I mentioned he's going to have the higher ownership here. He's been cooking, and people do not want to fade him. Look at this, 3 games in a row. He has a total of 10 touchdowns in 3 games. All right, he's been super, super efficient. One game he came against the Eagles, Seattle, who has an okay defense. But Brock Purdy has been on fire. He's going to get a lot of ownership, okay? Hertz and Purdy are going to be the 2 main guys in this slate. Maybe we can go off to Mahomes or Lamar Jackson and try to be a little bit contrarian in our lineup builds if you want to, all right? Aiden O'Connell is at 5,200. I just want to mention him. I don't think we need to go this route. He had his best game of his career against the Chargers. Obviously, they gave up, all right? Now, Tommy DeVito actually has a good matchup going up against this Eagles defense that has been giving up a ton of yards to opposing quarterbacks. This will be the sleeper quarterback, Tommy DeVito. All right, Tommy DeVito is going to be our punt play quarterback. So this guy, if you don't want to go Hertz or you don't go Purdy or Lamar Jackson, you can be sneaky here and pay up and get more expensive guys like CMC and get you 2 number 1 wide receivers, and you can pay for Tommy DeVito here. He has some upside because he's been using his legs a little bit more in these games. Had a little bit of a rough stretch here against the Saints. Still got you 10 fantasy points, but we saw a big blow spot against Washington. You can see the upside for Tommy DeVito in a good matchup. Hopefully he can mix the passing with the rushing, and he can really go off against this Eagles team here. Probably have a high-scoring back and forth NFC East battle. That's what we're looking for. Let's move on to the running backs. For the running back position, we are going to start off with the guy with the best spot here. Looking at fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs, I told you guys that the New York Giants struggle on stopping the rush. 25th overall, but 3rd in the red zone. They're not allowing that many touchdowns, but they're allowing 135 yards rushing. So that's going to be Jaylen Herz, and that's going to be DeAndre Swift. I also have a sleeper here that we're going to speak about as well. DeAndre Swift of the Philadelphia Eagles. He had a good matchup against Seattle. Didn't take full advantage of that. We're hoping for more higher average per carry. He only had 4.1, and we're hoping for a little more receptions there. But if they want to get this run game going and be very dominant against this Giants team here at home, DeAndre Swift has the propensity to break big runs. Like earlier in the season against Buffalo, he had a run of 36 yards. Against KC, he had a run of 35, and he had 19 fantasy points in that one. We're waiting for that big breakout game from DeAndre Swift like he did early in the season, where he was very, very consistent. He has struggled as of late, but this is a matchup we can see him come back, but back on the map. All right. Now, the sleeper running back we're going to talk about is going to be all the way down at the bottom at 4,300. Boston Scott literally owns the New York Giants. Each and every game he faces the Giants, he scores a touchdown. All right. So this is going to be our punt play. So if you go expensive at majority of your spots, you need that RB2 to just get you enough, maybe 7, 8, 9 fantasy points, maybe even 10. Boston Scott can be your guy. I'm telling you right now, he's going to get a touchdown against this Giants team. It happens every single time they play. So I love Boston Scott as our sleeper running back. All right. Now, some of the other options at the running back spot, obviously, going all the way back to the top. CMC. This is going to be the toughest matchup he's had all season long. Okay. As you can see, the rushing defense for the Baltimore Ravens is top 10. So we had a big blow up game from him, 44 fantasy points. If he doesn't get over 30, he is not paying off that salary. Okay. You need him to go at least 26 and plus for CMC to pay off. So this could be that game where he has what he did against Seattle. That's not enough. What he did against Tampa Bay, that's not enough. But especially if someone else comes out that's very cheap and goes off on this slate, that could be the make or break. Instead of paying for CMC, you could save salary and go to Barkley, and he can get a ton of usage there. So you're going to have to roll the dice here with CMC in this very, very tough matchup where it might not pan out. Okay, just letting you guys know right now. Okay, he's a great talent. Obviously, he's going to get uses rushing and receiving, but this is going to be the worst matchup he's seen all season. Just warning you guys on Christian McCaffrey. All right. Next guy for the running back position will be Saquon Barkley. All right, this is the bell cow, the leader of this New York Giants team. We want to see more receptions come his way. Tommy DeVito has not really connected with him at a very high clip here, but he is seeing a little bit of a seesaw in his production. All right, he'll have a good game, then a bad game, then a good game, then a bad game. So hopefully he can get in the end zone and definitely exploit some of the issues here against this Philadelphia Eagles team. All right, if they're going to have a chance to win in this game, they're going to need to utilize Saquon Barkley. It cannot just be the Tommy DeVito show. They need to use their best player, and I expect a bounce back performance from Barkley. He only had 14 yards rushing against the Saints. Okay, so if we're looking at fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs, the Eagles are 14th overall and 13th in the red zone. They're still giving up over 100 yards rushing, so that's a positive, and 4.2 yards to carry. That's fine for Saquon Barkley. He can exploit that. All right. Next, for the running back spot here, Isaiah Pacheco. He's finally back and healthy against the Las Vegas Raiders here, and this is a spot where he can take advantage. We saw in Week 12 what he did, 15 carries, 55 yards, and 2 TDs. This is why Patrick Mahomes doesn't need to go off for 30 fantasy points, because they have a running game now. Isaiah Pacheco has been super efficient, and he's taking advantage of his number one spot now. He has $6,400 in salary. I love him as a running back play on this Christmas Day slate, so I'm gonna throw him in there. Josh Jacobs is the next player we can consider. This one here, he's going to have to do the receiving work, maybe some cleanup time here with Josh Jacobs trying to get in the end zone like he did against KC in Week 12. We need him to get in the end zone, and he rushed for over 100 yards. So that's a positive sight to see. So Chiefs have been pretty much stout across the board, stopping opposing running backs. If we're looking at their overall, technically, they've been okay. They're only allowed 99 yards rushing. It's the yards per carry, all right? The teams that they're facing aren't rushing at a very high clip. As you can see, the Giants are giving up 37 rushes a game. Tennessee's giving up 37 rushes a game. When you're facing Kansas City, you're probably going to throw the ball a little bit more. That's why you see lower numbers, all right? That's why it's a little bit skewed when it comes to Kansas City Chiefs. Teams throw the ball more against them than pass. So Josh Jacobs still is a solid play we can go towards. That's going to save you salary at $6,300. If he can do the same thing he did in Week 12, that's going to be double thumbs up instead of paying for a Christian McCaffrey where you're sacrificing so much salary. If Josh Jacobs can come through with 20 plus fantasy points, you're looking very well in your lineup builds. All right. Let's see if we can find any more gems here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be the backup to Isaiah Pacheco. I do not expect much out of him. He had his opportunity last week to be the number one running back. Gus Bus is now the number one running back for the Baltimore Ravens. Keaton Mitchell is out for the rest of the season, and Gus Bus is going to go back to his goal line usage, all right? So I like him as a sleeper running back, even in a bad matchup against the 49ers. Goal-to-goal situations, a lot of injuries on that D-line for the 49ers. This is where the Baltimore Ravens can take advantage and run the football on the 49ers, all right? So Gus Edwards can be a factor here at $5,700 in salary, all right? And I think that's how far we're going to go in our lineup builds. I gave you our super punt play. Let me tell you that one more time. Boston Scott will be our punt play at the running back position if you want to sacrifice the RB2 spot. All right. Thank you, guys. Let's move on to the wide receivers. Now onto the wide receiver position. The first grouping we're going to be looking at will be the Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers. They have the best matchup on the board between them and the Giants. It's just that Tommy DeVito is the quarterback for the Giants. That's why we're going to start off with the Philadelphia Eagles first, all right? A.J. Brown at $8,500, first guy on the list. So with the Eagles, we understand it's a two-man game, okay? A.J. Brown, and it's going to be Devonta Smith, all right? Devonta Smith does get a bump down when Goddard is back and healthy, and he is back and healthy. But we already understand the Philadelphia Eagles have this funnel between Brown, Devonta Smith, Goddard, and then running backs. There's no clear wide receiver 3. And if you want to try to hit that dart with a Quez Watkins or a Lamadeus Zaccheaus, you can do that you can do it. Go ahead and try. Quez Watkins, who's been injured the majority of the season, only has 49 yards. And then the guy who's been in his place, Zaccheaus, only has 144 yards all year. If you want to try to hit that dart, then by all means, go ahead and try. But we're going to, it's a clear-cut pace. Brown, Smith, Goddard, or the running backs. That's what the Eagles do. And it's Jaylen Herz rushing in for a plenty of touchdowns at goal-to-goal situations, all right? So those are going to be the two wide receivers you will consider, either Brown or Devonta Smith. I like Brown in this matchup against the Giants. He hasn't had a touchdown since week 12, so this guy is going to be super due here. We want that A.J. Brown that we saw earlier in the season where he was going off for 25, 41, 21, 23, 32. That's the A.J. Brown we want. Hopefully he can bring that back here in this matchup against the Giants, all right? Next grouping will be the New York Giants wide receiver core. They're next up on the list. And if we want to have some salary savers at that wide receiver position, I think the Giants is going to be the gem. All right. It's either going to be Wan'Dale Robinson. He's going to be their slot wide receiver that's going to get the majority of the targets. He's the guy that's going to get the majority of looks from Tommy DeVito, and he has a nice solid allotment of targets the past couple weeks with DeVito as quarterback as well. He even had a 17-point game against Green Bay. That's the upside there for Wan'Dale Robinson if you want to save salary and punt the wide receiver spot. Slayton is going to be the number one outside guy who's been pretty consistent with Tommy DeVito. Had 10 fantasy points against the Saints and 18 against Washington with a touchdown as well. And then if you really want to go for that guy, go for the Gusto that's going to be super low owned but has so much upside, like Rashid Shaheed for the Saints. That's going to be Jaylen Hyatt. All right, if you really want to punt this guy for the New York Giants, rookie wide receiver Jaylen Hyatt is going to be the guy. Hopefully he can get a touchdown. Hopefully this could be the week. He deserves it. He's been okay so far this year. Had some blow-up spots. We saw 18 against the New England Patriots, but he has that speed to set himself apart, and this is the perfect matchup. As you can see, the Eagles are 31st ranked overall and 32nd in the red zone. All right, so they're giving up the most, right behind the Commanders, to opposing wide receivers. So Jaylen Hyatt could definitely be that guy to game break the slate. All right. So the next grouping of wide receivers we will be considering will be in this Baltimore and San Francisco game. The first one we'll talk about will be the San Francisco 49ers, all right? So Deebo Samuel has been on a torrid pace, okay? Rushing the football, yards after the catch, that's Deebo Samuel's bread and butter. We have 4 games in a row of over 20 fantasy points from Deebo. Hey, he's been solid. 5 touchdowns in the past 3 games. Obviously, the Baltimore Ravens, who's going to be the top 5 defense in the league, they're going to make sure that they do not have Deebo Samuel create after the catch. All right, once he gets the ball, they have to tackle him. But Deebo has obviously made his way like, hey, this is the old Deebo where he had that MVP season. All right. So Deebo Samuel is going to be a play here that you can't consider for the 49ers. Also, Brandon Ayuk is going to be that number 2 guy. He's had a little bit of a rough patch since Deebo has been going off. He hasn't been totally out the way. He's still been putting up solid numbers. 20 against the Seattle Seahawks, 15 with a touchdown against the Eagles, 13 with a touchdown against the Seattle Seahawks. And then in week 11, he had 29.6. So do not forget about Brandon Ayuk. He's putting together a very solid year as well. And they can definitely create some mismatches here with all the focus on Deebo or CMC. Brandon Ayuk can be the guy that can go off, all right? For any cheaper wide receivers for the San Francisco 49ers, we're going to stay away from those guys. Ronnie Bell's a special teamer that could come off. He will be seeing a little bit more snaps with the injury to Jawan Jennings, okay? So who's going to be the number 3 wide receiver for the 49ers will be Ronnie Bell. Just letting you guys know about that. Now, for the Baltimore side of the football, their wide receivers, they have no clear-cut number 1. It's just the gang of guys that are very, very solid, all right? Zay Flowers is going to be fine. He will play in this game on Monday. He is the most consistent out of the main wide receivers Baltimore has. He's had big games against the Rams, 20 fantasy points. Big game against the Chargers, 23 fantasy points. So he's the guy, short yardage, can create after the catch. And be very, very explosive, and he's going to get a high allotment of targets. So I like Zay Flowers at that mid price at $5,500. All right. Odell Beckham is looking like his old self, and he can definitely pop off in this game against the San Francisco 49ers. He's had some solid games, 19 against the Rams, 18 against Cincinnati, 11 and 15 in week 9 and week 10. So Odell Beckham, you want to save some salary, he has been very good there as well. And if you're punting for wide receivers for Baltimore, it's going to be between Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar. Bateman has been coming up more into the scene more and more lately, and this is the huge X factor for the Baltimore Ravens. We already understand Rashad Bateman is super explosive. Before his injury last season, he was a guy that was putting up over 100 yards and a touchdown. He's a deep threat, okay? So Rashad Bateman getting healthier and healthier, getting more acclimated with Lamar Jackson. That's going to only bode well in this stretch end of the season going into the postseason. So I'm expecting a big blow-up game from Rashad Bateman very, very soon. You see the targets are trending higher. You're seeing his average yards per catch going higher as well. So that big game from Rashad Bateman is going to be right around the corner. Hopefully it can be on Monday. All right. Now, the next grouping of wide receivers will be Kansas City, and they don't have that many wide receivers as well, right? No Kadarius Toney and no Sky Moore. The guy you're going to be keying in on for the wide receiver core of the Kansas City Chiefs will be Rashee Rice. He might be a guy that you just have to have in each and every lineup. I believe he is a lock, okay? As you can see, the consistency the past 4 weeks, 27, 14, 19, and 24. He's seen, wow, dang near 40 targets the past 4 weeks. Rashee Rice is an absolute lock, and this guy is a not a sleeper. He is probably going to be a sleeper, but next year you have to get Rashee Rice in every one of your drafts, every one of your lineup builds. Rashee Rice is going to be the new number 1 with Kelsey falling behind. As you can see, this year he's already declining, all right? So Rashee Rice is that new number 1 guy for the Chiefs you have to have. And he is going to be an absolute lock on this slate for Monday. All right, so I'm gonna make sure I put him in here. I'm gonna take out Barkley. You need to have Rashee Rice. All right, have to have him. All right, now Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Justin Watson are going to be the 1-2 punch behind Rashee Rice. If I had to choose one or the other, at least Justin Watson can be consistent, and he's had a game or two here with a touchdown from Patrick Mahomes. So that's going to be the guy I would like to go towards if I'm doing a double stack of the Kansas City Chiefs. Rashee Rice, Kelsey, and if you're adding someone else in, I would choose Justin Watson over Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who has been absolutely horrible all year long, okay? And then last but not least, you have the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders here, they have Devonta Adams, obviously at 7,300. He could be the forgotten guy. Obviously, with all this salary here, he had a very good game against the Chargers in Week 15 for 101 and a touchdown. Hey, they're going to be down. And we saw in Week 12, he had 7 targets, 73 yards, didn't get in the end zone. But you see some upside there. Almost got 100 yards. He just needed to get in the end zone. He would definitely paid off his salary, all right? So Adams could be a sleeper here in your lineup builds with Aiden O'Connell here as that quarterback, all right? With O'Connell as the QB, he's been connected very much so with Adams. Jacoby Myers is usually connected with Jimmy Garoppolo. But hey, we already know Aiden O'Connell is going to be that number 1 QB for the Las Vegas Raiders, all right? So Adams, Myers, and if you're really, really desperate, Trey Tucker is popping up on the scene here, and he's going to get a few more reps. As you can see, he had his big blow-up game against the Chargers. He's getting more and more snaps with the number 1 unit. He has surpassed Hunter Renfrow, okay? So another punt guy you can consider, Trey Tucker, in that $3,000 range. He has passed Hunter Renfrow, all right? Now let's move on to the tight ends. Last but not least, guys, we have that tight end spot. The number 1 guy we're going to be looking at for the tight ends is going to be Dallas Goedert. I think he's going to have a huge game here going up against these New York Giants here. If we're looking at fantasy points allowed to the tight end position, technically, let's see what is the best matchup on the board. And that's going to be Dallas Goedert. Like I said, Dallas Goedert. The Giants are giving up 30th overall to opposing tight ends, 18th in the red zone. All right, 6 catches, 58 yards, and a TD a game to that tight end position. So Goddard's going to be my favorite tight end on the board here. And you're saving salary if you're going towards him in your lineup builds. A lot of people are going to go towards Kelsey or Kittle. Or even, it's Kelsey or Kittle. That's going to get most of the ownership. I think Goddard is going to be a guy that's going to definitely set himself apart from everyone else. Now, Travis Kelce, if you want to go that route, you have to pay up $7,500. He has not put up his solid numbers. When was the last time he had a 20-point game? Since week 7. It's been a very long time since we've seen a big blow-up game from Travis Kelce. He's putting up mediocre numbers now because he's not getting in the end zone, all right? He's getting the yards, 80, 83, 91, but he is not getting in the end zone, so he's coming through with mediocre performances. But hey, this is the tight end position. As long as you're getting over 10 fantasy points, you are technically paying off if you are a tight end. All right, so Kelce, you can go that route. The number 1 spot here is going to be Goddard. Kittle, he's the on and off guy. He'll have a good game there and a bad game somewhere else. A good game here and then a bad game. As you can see, week 15 against Arizona, 7 fantasy points. Against Seattle, 4 fantasy points. But then he had a stretch going off, 23, 22, 26, and then had a game of 1. So hopefully this could be the game that he goes off. You're talking about the Baltimore Ravens defense. Let's look at what they give up to that tight end position. That's going to be one of their weaknesses. So we could see a strong game from Kittle. 20th overall and 25th in the red zone. That's what the Baltimore Ravens are giving up to opposing tight ends. So weakness of the Ravens will be that tight end position. George Kittle is in a good spot. All right. Darren Waller is finally back in the mix and healthy. He saw 6 targets, so he's going to factor in for this offense for the New York Giants here. as a target getter. Hopefully he can get things going, finally get another touchdown this year as well. So Darren Waller can be considered at 4,500. All right. A sleeper tight end we can look at with all the big names is Isaiah Likely. He has a very strong connection with Lamar Jackson. Since they lost Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely has taken that role and done very, very well. Back-to-back games with a touchdown. So I expect Isaiah Likely to have another solid performance here and hopefully get in the end zone. 18 fantasy points against Jacksonville and 19 against the Rams. All right. If we're punting the tight end spot, the key news here is going to be Michael Mayer. He is going to be out. He is 3,300. The guy that is replacing him is Austin Hooper. So Austin Hooper, who we already know has a pedigree of being a solid tight end, journeyman tight end now. He's the guy that's going to be the number one option, and he could be the super sleeper at 2,500. If you want to do a lineup with two tight ends, save some salary, you can go the Austin Hooper route. And as you can see, the Kansas City Chiefs against opposing tight ends are 23rd overall and 26th in the red zone. So there's a very good matchup here for Austin Hooper, who's going to be the number one tight end, going to get all the snaps here, and is going to get looks and more targets from Aiden O'Connell. All right. So that's going to be the breakdown for the tight ends. The punt play is Hooper, and my favorite overall play will be Dallas Goedert. All right. Just quick overview of the defenses. The defenses I am considering here will be the Ravens at 2,500. And will be the Kansas City Chiefs at 3,200. Those are my two favorite defenses on the slate. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And guys, I want to wish you, everyone that's viewing this video, have a Merry Christmas and a happy holidays. All right. And I'll be back with another video very soon. All right. Peace out.